Hey everyone, hope as well. I just wanted to share a story, or I guess a conversation that I had with somebody many, many years ago. This is probably back in 2021, which is so weird to think that was 3 years ago already, because it just seems like everything's been a blur still the last like few years. But I had a conversation with somebody who was on a similar wavelength, in terms of being against the jabs and against the mandates. And he and I have some different lifestyle choices because the person is a DJ, is still kind of a part of that nightclubbing culture, and that's something that I kind of walked away from. I always liked things like electronic music because of working in fitness. You tend to teach a lot of fitness classes like spin classes, step aerobics, kickboxing. You teach a lot of that stuff to a higher beat per minute. It generally tends to be more electronic in nature. Even if it is some sort of like 80s remix song, they put it to a beat. And so that was just like my surrounding environment. So I look back now at that stuff and realize, none of this stuff is from our higher self or for us. Definitely not. The nightclub realm is not created by God. Let's put it that way. Because there's a whole dark and seedy side with it. But within the realm of this truth community, it is very diverse, and there are people who are on different levels of awakening. There have been people who are older who've been awake since like the 80s and 90s, or even before. There's people who are just kind of starting to snap out of the coma that they've been in for 30 or 40 years and have just started coming out of it the last couple of years. So we have to have a little bit of respect for one another in terms of where they're at on their level of understanding, and that's where compassion comes into play. And not saying it's not frustrating when people don't see things from your point of view, and it's extremely frustrating when people who are not really quite all the way up here, there's still like, they're like partially, I don't even want to use the word partially awake. They're just shitting on the people who are a little more ahead of the game. And the thing is, even somebody like myself, I always kind of thought things are awake. I have been awoken to a lot of different things throughout the couple last decades of my life of spiritual journeying or whatever you want to call it. But what really helped get to the next level was kind of listening to that smaller subculture of a voice that, like the naturopathic people who have dove really deep into the medical science of things throughout their career and have been talking about things like, there's been no isolation of a virus. A lot of internal toxicity is what causes diseases. And so when you look at toxicity in general, then you can start to really understand how all the external toxicity that we're getting from the sky, from the soil, because of all the herbicides and pesticides and glyphosate that's being sprayed, is literally wrecking not only ourselves, but the planet. So those smaller voices tend to be a little more radical, and sometimes you tend to get a little angry through this process because people shit on you all the time. And so it is within, having wisdom, it's wise to start listening to some of these people. Like Dr. Tom Cohen has been talking about how throughout his medical career, he is a medical doctor, so he went through med school and all of that training and has still not found certain things like a virus, or talks about how there is no such thing as like a spike protein. So it's like, really, what are these people, scientists and doctors, even looking at? Because there is a subculture of people who are saying like, that's not a spike protein when they're looking at this. I can't remember exactly what it was because I listened to these videos 2 years ago, but you can start to listen to things and be a little detached and unbiased and be like, this is interesting. So let's start continuing to connect the dots and see who essentially long-term is right or maybe not right. The point of this video that I wanted to make it really quick is a conversation that I had with somebody many years ago through Facebook just said, the divide and conquer technique is one of the oldest trades, or, the oldest, what do they call it? Like the play in the book type of thing. So it is evidently clear that, especially our Western nations, they are dividing and conquering us. And oftentimes we see that through like the left versus the right. So your liberals versus conservatives. But what my friend said, he said divide and conquer, and then subdivide, and then subdivide, and then subdivide. And so what, he just said, he goes, watch, like, you're going to have like the LGBT culture to where it's like being a gay white man is not going to be accepted, but being a trans white man will be accepted. And then eventually being a white trans man is not going to be acceptable. Everybody's going to attack and hate the white trans, but then they're going to be all for like the black or the minority trans people. And so then you're going to start seeing this, whole culture of people start to crumble. And I have seen that a little bit because, for example, like within the LGBT community, because politically that's always been linked to the left, I've known gay men out here in Seattle who have secretly voted for Donald Trump or can't talk about how they awoken from this liberal coma that they've been in and realized how manipulative that the liberal media has been and kind of became more conservative, whether or not they actually liked somebody like Trump. But where I'm going with this is that even in this truth community, it is a conglomerate and a diverse mix of religious people, New Agers, atheists, young people, old people. It's a mix of all of us. And I've been just watching and analyzing all this stuff for a long time. And the perfect example that I can share is that a couple videos ago when I was outside walking in the park and kind of complaining about all the crap in the sky, somebody commented on that video and said, this is such unscientific nonsense. And so as I saw that comment, part of me was like, I don't care, because I really don't. Like, if I actually cared about this platform, I would be pumping out requests for your emails, for donations. I'd be sending you to my websites. I'd be making it a business model plan like every other person on YouTube and Patreon and all that is begging for donations. I'm just continuously doing these videos because I genuinely believe in helping people. And if some little thought can plant a seed in your brain and help you grow in some form of way in your life, then that's the point or the hope that I have for a lot of people, is to live a better life, have growth and ascension in various aspects of your personal and spiritual part of your life. But I already, because I've been doing this for like 20 years now. So it's like you kind of have a good read and a forecast on situations or certain types of people when you meet them in person. So I said, I was like, all right, I'm going to reply to this and let's see where it goes. But I already forecasted, like I said, if I reply to this the way that I'm going to reply to this, which is not going to be mean or anything, I just said this person's going to unsubscribe, because there is absolutely no way in modern times that, you can argue with a closed mind or have a debate with, you cannot have disagreements with unreasonable mindsets. And the scientific mindset right now is the zealotry that is happening. In the past, it's been religion, and now it's science. And that's the thing that these people don't get. I'll do a separate video on that, but kind of like the system keeps us all in a loop by changing it's like same shit, different characters. It's the same cycle that keeps repeating itself. So I replied, and the person replied to my original reply, and then as I went back, I just clicked that refresh button, and that person unsubscribed. And so in some ways, it's like where I find things so frustrating, because I work for myself, is like, even on Etsy, people will constantly ask for discounts, but they will never go into Walmart or Target or to your local grocery store and say, I have 5 things in my cart and I would like a 20% discount. You'll never do that to a corporation. You'll never tell Amazon that, because you've spent $10,000 on Amazon this year, that you deserve a discount. And so I guess I'm kind of like losing my train of thought of the focus of this video, but I want people to start thinking about, we are in a divide and conquer type of scenario right now. And within each community and group of us, we are continuously finding these subdivisions. So for example, in this truth community, you got like the truthers or truth. And then it's like your kind of atheistic people, scientific people are going against, your spiritual truth community. And or like your natural health people are going to start to be this subdivide in the spiritual realm, because we all understand everything about God and spirit and creation. And that's going to start being a subdivision, and that's going to start going against like the more religious, whatever religious people are going against like the more atheistic truthers. And so like the thing, like when that person clicked unsubscribed, once again, I personally don't care, because I was like, well, then why are you here? Because if you've watched any of my videos that I've done for the last 5 years, I've done nothing but talk about like personal spiritual development and things like that. I don't really focus a ton on the more news things. I might share some opinion on that, but there's tons of other platforms for that. But it was just so I don't know. It's not I guess it is frustrating, but the thing about that type of mentality is like they'll constantly listen to all of the bullshit from people like a fucking Joe Rogan and or like an Alex Jones. And I don't know if it's because they have a professional setting and their hair is done. Like I just got done teaching 2 classes and I have 4 more classes to teach today. So I'm sorry, it's like, this is just how I look when I do a lot of these things, because I'm doing it on my spare time. But I just like, I don't really understand like the glittering aspect of people that just like a scientist, it's like, oh, it's so unscientific that things are coming out of the sky. And actually it's not. I'm going to do another video about if you want to look at all the patents of geoengineering, this is the website to go to. So I just don't really understand, because like the whole point of like things that I've been trying to preach is like, get healthy, get your shit together, stay away from the system. But in reality, if you're constantly sticking up for science, I've worked in exercise science and holistic health. Science has proven everything, that you can heal yourself without pharmaceuticals. You can forest bathe yourself. You can find God for free and commune with God for free on a walk or in your local park or beach or forest, wherever you want to take a walk. All of this has been proven by science. We just have 2 different perspectives of scientists. And so in reality, that person's probably like, I don't want to use these words like a lukewarm truther, but like they're not quite there yet. And there was no judgment from my end. I was just trying to explain to the person in the comment box, like, dude, I've been in the scientific world, and when you it's so basic. You look at studies that have been done, even in the world of health and nutrition, when Gatorade is funding a research scientific project that they want to prove that their sport jelly beans enhance sport performance, those fucking scientists are going to find a way to tell you that these sugary little gummies that they're selling in a package is improving cross-country runner times and stuff like that. They're not gonna fucking prove that their own product is bogus. I mean, this is what I'm saying. You have to have a very rational mind and really start looking at things, because when you're uninformed, you don't know a lot. And you can go into the NIH and look up how in the 1800s it was the exact same thing. You had businessmen that you have businessmen that have been the main funders in the world of medicine in the 1800s that started pushing pharmaceuticals to the American public in the 1800s. And that led to a lot of the production and creation of vaccines with Louis Pasteur, because the battle between Louis Pasteur and Anthony, I think it's Anthony Béchamp, Louis Pasteur won. He was a well-spoken public speaker, and he won that debate and argument in public. And the wrong side of that won. And that was in the Victorian era. And look how we have over 100 years of fucking chaos now that we understand that the wrong side won. So, but anyways, I'm going to end it here. But I want you, I hope that you can think about these things, because trust me, it's frustrating. It is so frustrating when somebody who is a scientific believer tells me, who's been in the exercise science and nutrition realm for 20 years, that I'm unscientific. You can't explain everything through the rational, logical mind. I'm a very logical person. I used to bash Christians. I used to think people who believed in Jesus and who were Christian and believed in angels were fucking stupid people. I don't know if that was a byproduct of going through the educational system, because as a child, I was an extremely mystical child and very empathetic, and had these, I've shared this example before. My mom bought me a whale tape because I loved whales. I collected little whale figurines, and I, adopted a whale and all that stuff, or, you give money to the organization, you get a picture. It's like, you adopted a whale. I was probably one of thousands of kids that adopted that same whale. But what I'm going at is I just remember all these things when I was a kid, very, very empathetic and mystical. At the age of 8, I decided eating meat was wrong. And I remember McDonald's, I was McDonald's is wrong. It's a wrong business. That's the higher self talking. And so as I aged and went through college, and I was just, I don't know, a lot more logical, and I thought these people were stupid, and I thought spirituality was it. And now I'm in the other end of the boat, looking back at my life and realizing what a massive lie a lot of this new age community has been, because a lot of its foundations, anything in the West, has been funded and promoted by the Masonic realm. And I'm not saying that there's a lot of people who go through spirituality and then they, they're finding Jesus and they go more religion and they kind of wash everything spiritual out. We can't take away the understanding of energy and our intuition and things like that. But I believe if you do a lot of these things walking with Christ with you, it is a more powerful experience, rather than channeling to spirit guides and all this stuff that continuously messes people up. And I look at things in my life and realize how dysfunctional a lot of things were when I was more spiritual. And now I'm a lot more grounded, and I don't need to do things. I don't need to constantly heal myself. I don't need to meditate. I don't have to do all these things that I had to do before, when I was just connecting to my spirit guide and things like that. So you can't have everything be scientific. There are flaws, massive flaws in the intellectual model. But my point with all this ranting is there could be legit judgment and just cut that person off, unsubscribe, whatever, delete them out, and then just continue to talk to the echo chamber. But that's not how people learn and grow. You grow by getting uncomfortable with disagreements, or I don't want to, I guess disagreement is just the best word. You get uncomfortable by having uncomfortable conversations that are not something that maybe you don't want to talk about. Because if you're trying to talk to an atheist about God, they're in a fixed belief that there is absolutely nothing out there. So it is, those people are actually the more closed-minded ones in this, on this earth, because they're so fixed. And at least people who believe in God understand that not everything can be solved or resolved just through the logical, rational mind. There's a combination of logic and spirit that goes into a lot of these things. So the subdivision is growing and it's working. Their plan is fucking working. So if you want to not let the bad side win, you have to start learning to accept people and kind of spiraling back, it's like, what junk and garbage has an independent single person like me who talks to like 380 people and probably only like 5% actually listen to this stuff, because I don't know, it's just not sensational. It's just not. I mean, use your fucking brains, people. That's what I want to say sometimes to some of those scientific zealots who are believing in billion-dollar most corrupt, scientific organizations compared to the independent person who's just trying to help people live a better life. Anyways, I'm gonna go. Have a great one. Bye-bye.